Imeshika. Chai yenye quality ya kipekee kwa bei nafuu. Faraja Premium Tea. Imeshika.
It's a trying time for the world, our country and our people. As Naivas, we are committed to safety by fumigating our stores, availing sanitizers, conducting mass testing of our employees, and offering pre-counseling and counseling support. We appreciate our employees for their daily dedication in serving our customers. And since your safety is our safety, in partnership with the Ministry of Health, let's join together in following the set protocols. Wear your mask, sanitize, maintain social distance, and have your temperature checked each time you visit our stores. Naivas saves you money.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Oh my, oh my, oh my days. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. Never understood. Never understood. Life can be this good.
This is NTV.
Well, a very good afternoon. You are just in time for NTV at 1. It is the 5th day of July 2020. My name is Zainab. We have all the stories making headlines across the country and beyond. Now, colleges must test all tutors 2 weeks before learning resumes in September. Speaking after a consultative meeting with principals and college representatives at the Kenya School of Government in Embu, Education CS Professor George Magoha warned that colleges that fail to test their tutors would not be allowed to open. The CS explained that the biggest challenge in reopening schools as earlier planned was social distancing in schools, which he said is now mandatory. Take a look.
We must test all the teachers before they go back to class. But it's not there are not many. But if a teacher is COVID positive, so nakaa nyumbani, you don't have 200 children, you get 20, it is not his or her fault. I could be COVID positive as I talk to you now, and I'm as strong as an eagle. When I give it to you, after 2 weeks, you have joined your ancestors.
And President Uhuru Kenyatta has hailed Africa's concerted response to COVID-19, stating that the measures being implemented by African countries are helping slow down the spread of the virus across the continent. President Kenyatta said despite limited resources, the continent had rolled out proactive measures which were helping save lives. He has, however, warned that efforts have to be sustained if the fight against COVID-19 is to be won.
Without doubt, there is no room for complacency. because despite our best efforts, the fact of the matter is that the pandemic is likely to get worse in the coming months, and we need to actively prepare for a looming crisis. We need, as a continent, to continue to learn from each other, to use data to guide our decisions. We need to remain pragmatic about managing containment measures and always maintain regular and transparent communication.
Meanwhile, Kajiado and Taita Taveta counties have agreed to resolve a 40-year boundary row. The two county governments signed a memorandum of understanding in a truce brokered by their respective governors.
The tension that has been simmering since the 1950s between herders and farmers has threatened to boil over, with the neighboring communities almost getting to each other's throats over a boundary. Since the 50s colonial boundaries, the former administrative units never had known beacons to mark the borderline, with intermarriage between Maasai and Taita communities complicating the matter. The boundary dispute has been inherited by the current Kajiado and Taita Taveta county governments, has over the years brought about a revenue collection standoff and a resource-based conflict. Water, land rates, cess fee has been a thorny issue. 2 weeks ago, Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenku and his Taita Taveta counterpart Granton Samboja agreed to resolve the dispute through a special committee comprising 11 members from either side. The committee drew up a borderline and erected beacons, ending years-long dispute.
I am a witness today, as a Kenyan, that alternative dispute resolution mechanisms have a potential to resolve our problems that have clogged our court processes and jeopardize our judicial and justice decision making.
Tunahimiza wananchi wetu, Kenya hii ni moja, ni yetu sisi sote. Kwa hivyo Wataita na Wakajiado muishi kwa amani bila shida yoyote.
Governor Lenku described the truce as a landmark achievement for the two counties. Governor Samboja further says that the defined borderline will ensure each county collects revenue from its jurisdiction. He also says he has reached out to Kwale and Makueni governors in a bid to resolve other conflicts. The MOU was signed at Lelai Shopping Center in Kajiado County. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Meanwhile, police in Bungoma are investigating a land syndicate involving surveyors that target widows in Bungoma County. The syndicate is believed to have stolen acres of land from widows in collusion with land officials. Late last week, residents joined some of the affected women to protest the alleged land grabbing, which has left quite a number homeless.
Pombotano residents in Kandui constituency held a peaceful demo against what they call systematic land grabbing. They claimed that a Bungoma-based land official recently changed the details of a title deed from a widow in a bid to claim ownership of the land.
Hivi vitu vinauma. Hivi vitu vinauma. Mimi nasema pesa ama no pesa. We want our country back.
According to Jacinta Maloba's family, one surveyor used his position to obtain a piece of land.
Sababu zaidi nilikuwa bado tu nini mzako. Mimi sijapata kwa barua ananiambia ati nitoke. Na tena siku akuja kufunja hii nyumba yangu, kukata kuangusha. Sikupata kwa barua kuniambia toka. Ile watu maskari wanakuja. Wananiambia mama tumekuja kufanya kazi. Kasema kazi gani? Hatumekuja kuangusha hii nyumba, kutoka hapa hii boma si yako.
We want to know the genesis of the title deeds. Nini liza title deeds? Because what I believe I could fall from heaven like manna during those days. Ukakota tu hivi ukaamka nayo kwa vile manna ilikuwa inaanguka wa Israelites wakikula. Hii ni kitu it has a process. Kuna title deeds, watu wamesign, kuna agreement, iko na witnesses, iko na brothers to the seller. Nataka atoe after ametoa agreement, tujue alikuwa ananunua sehemu gani, measurements. Ilikuwa what by what. Because what I know, my father bought a quarter an acre.
Nasituka saa hii naambiwa Jacinda amekaanga kwa boma ambaye si yake. Ati ni ya mtu anaitwa Waswa. Na Waswa bila nasikia ati ni mkubwa wa Bungoma County Surveyor. Na ni mtu ambaye ni overall surveyor ambaye anaweza kuwa advisor wa watu wengine. Lakini yeye ndiye ametangulia kuonyesha mfano aina hii.
In another incident, Jamila says she still has the original documents proving ownership of the land she bought back in 2006 in Namachanja village. There's a court order demanding that she vacate the property. According to the new documents, the land now belongs to an Eldoret-based individual. The new documents are signed by the same questionable land official.
Naomba Nurdin Haji nitaka uone hii. Sisi waja wa Bungoma tunaumia, wa mama wazee. Hatuna pale pa kwenda. Kitu umetoa jasho yako, umejinyima, umejenga. Mtu anatoka anyway anakuja na kuambia ploti ni yake. Na mimi niko na makaratasi zote, vile nilipewa na municipality, nilikuwa nilipia ushuru yote.
Nurdin Haji, wewe ni ndugu yangu Muislamu, na siweki Uislamu ndani. Nataka tu ukweli. Nataka ukweli ndugu yangu, ukweli ibainishe kati yangu na ujamaa. Justice ikuje katikati. Ukweli ikuje katikati, iweke kwa meza. Kama ni yake, nitasema alhamdulillah, nitashukuru. Na kama si yake, nipewe bana wazazi wangu waweze kurudi kwa mili yao ya kitambo. Naumia sana, siwezi fanya kazi. Nashinda kotini, nashinda police station, nashinda kwa ofisi za lands. Huyo jamaa kikuja ana pesa, ana control everywhere.
The surveyor declined to respond to questions from journalists. The police now say investigations have commenced and hopefully the affected families will get the justice they deserve.
Our new DCIO to investigate and find out what happened really, because this lady who was being evicted was said to have bought that land long before this other gentleman came. So right now the matter is under investigation. If there was any fraud, I think the matter will be investigated and the culprit will be taken to court.
Zakis Masame, NTV.
Well, we certainly hope the relevant authorities are able to address those issues there. Now, tension is high in Chepsirwo area of Endebess, Trans Nzoia County, after a row between the Kenya Wildlife Service rangers and residents living around Mount Elgo National Park erupted. Residents have accused the rangers of brutality and bribery. The unfriendly relations began when two residents were shot and injured by rangers who accused them of illegal logging and grazing in the park. The residents have now given a 2-week ultimatum to Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko to intervene and ensure the rangers are arrested and prosecuted. Meanwhile, Kirinyaga members of the National Assembly have written to the House Majority Leader Amos Kimunya seeking to be incorporated in committees they consider influential. The MPs have listed 4 committees they say would go a long way in supporting development in the county. The legislators also want the CS Roads and Infrastructure to reroute the ongoing construction of the Mau Mau Road to at least go through each constituency in the county.
Sisi tumeangalia ile proposed list na tumeona ya kwamba katika zile agenda 4 hatuko ndani vilivyo, na ndio tumepropose katika ile barua tumeandika kwa leader of majority zile kamati ambazo tungetaka sisi wote tuwe tunachangia.
Tunahitaji kamiti ya usambazaji umeme, that is energy. Tunahitaji kamati kama ya maji, watu wetu waweze kupata maji ya kutosha na mingi ya kukunywa na ya kulima. Pia tunahitaji kamati kama ya barabara. Barabara zetu nyingi zimekuwa mbaya kuingia mashinani. Kwa hivyo wakati tuko na mtu pale ataweza kutetea maslahi na atasikika kwanza kabla ya mtu ambaye ametoka nje ya kamiti.
Tukiongea mambo ya hii barabara ya Mau, tafadhali wacha hii barabara pia ifike upande wa Kirinyaga. Na ikifika upande wa Kirinyaga iguze kila constituency. Iguze Dia, iguze Central, iguze Geshogo na iguze Mwea. Na watu wa Kirinyaga watakuwa wameridhika.
Now, Kenya and the United Kingdom have agreed to start negotiations for a post-Brexit trade deal and conclude the same before December 31st, 2020. President Uhuru Kenyatta held private talks with the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson today, and the two agreed that the negotiations would be held under the Kenya-UK Strategic Partnership Framework established by the two leaders in January this year. In 2019, Kenya's exports to the UK were valued at 40.1 billion shillings, making UK the second largest export destination in Europe. President Kenyatta at the same time thanked the British government for extending visa overstay amnesty for Kenyan nationals in the UK who cannot travel back due to the COVID-19 travel restrictions. The Coalition for Grassroots Civil Society Organization has faulted President Uhuru Kenyatta's handling of state agencies, arguing he is not giving them space to discharge their duties effectively. The civil rights activists accuse the president of stifling the other arms of government as well.
We'll be moving to the Constitutional Court to ask for an interpretation of the ambiguous expression order from above statement, which is especially quoted by people in authority to disregard valid court orders, which are active, issued by our courts. We'll be praying that the courts declare that ambiguous statement illegal and its use punishable by law. The head of the executive is the president, and the president is Uhuru Kenyatta. By disobeying court orders, he only shows us one thing, that the law is not registered in his heart and is out to strangle all the institutions that administer the rule of law in Kenya.
Tumerudi zile enzi za zamani sana, zile miaka zilizopita. Kwa sababu rais ameteka nyara bunge, ameteka nyara senate, ameteka nyara idara zote. Tunasema kwa Kiingereza state capture.
Sisi kama wanaharakati wa chini, kama watu wa kawaida, sisi tunakataa na tunasema heri nguvu irudi kwa mkono ya mwananchi. Katiba ya Kenya Article 1 inasema mzuri, all sovereign powers belong to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only accordance with the constitution.
The independence of the three arms of government has been compromised, and we are not asking for much. We are asking for the rights of independence of these three arms.
Meanwhile, 25 civil society organizations working on human rights in the country are calling on the government to implement the Sexual and Reproductive Health Bill. This comes after religious groups advocated against the bill, saying it would perpetuate sexual evils in the society. Speaking in Nairobi, the organizations urged the Ministry of Health to ensure the implementation of the standards and guidelines for reducing maternal mortality and morbidity from unsafe abortions. They are asking the ministry to provide accurate information on sexual and reproductive health and rights through elaborate education. As a way of addressing the rising cases of teenage pregnancies that has been on the rise in the country, they are asking the Ministry of Education to finalize and implement the curriculum on the matter to target school adolescents.
We urge the Ministry of Health to ensure the provision of accurate information on sexual and reproductive health and rights through an elaborate public education, sensitization and awareness program that dispel myths, misconceptions, misinformations, and untruths regarding sexual and reproductive health and rights, which are guaranteed in our Constitution. We appeal to the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to finalize, launch, and implement a comprehensive curriculum on sexual and reproductive health and rights, targeting in and out of school adolescents.
All right, let's take a breather here on NTV at 1. We still have a lot more coming from our global community, as well as some sporting action. Stay with us.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more. Like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted. And always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Start a smart life seeing the new world. Welcome to the Cynics Android TV Lounge. You can actually command the TV by voice.
Neza ongea na TV.
Hey, these promotions will be running from the 15th to the 21st of July.
Well, we are glad you could stay with us on NTV at 1. Now, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has gone into self-isolation for 2 weeks after one of his contacts was confirmed to have the illness. Despite testing negative for COVID-19, Ghana's president says he is going into self-isolation as a precautionary measure and will be working from the presidential villa in Accra. Ghana has reported more than 19,000 cases of the new respiratory disease and 117 deaths. The West African country has also lifted its strict lockdown, although social distancing measures remain in place. The announcement came a day after the presidency said a junior minister had resigned for failing to self-isolate after testing positive. And people spilled out onto the pavement in London as pubs across England reopened to the public after a lockdown imposed to stem the spread of COVID-19 was eased. This comes as the global numbers hit over 11 million and the deaths now over 530,000.
Some of the beer may be stale from sitting in kegs for over 3 months, but Britons were still eager to sip it on Saturday as England reopened its pubs and lifted a wave of other coronavirus restrictions.
It feels quite liberating because it's been so long and we're all so secure with what we do, wash our hands.
The government is trying to coax its hospitality sector back to life on what has been touted as Super Saturday. Restaurants are finally allowed to open their doors to customers and barbers can get their clippers out. More people can gather for picnics. The first nationwide closure of pubs had seen sales slump to the lowest level on record. Some people decided to sit out the first weekend and see how safely it was to open back up. Government guidelines insist on minimum contact between staff and customers, with table service only and no standing around at the bar. Drinkers will also have to give contact details in case of an outbreak, although a group can designate a single person who can then relay any bad news to the rest. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called for the public to not sabotage the government's effort to prevent the spread. Several countries have begun opening up their economies. The European Union has also reopened its external borders to a safe travel list of nations. Belgium moves into phase 4 of its lockdown easing, with cinemas, casinos and concerts opening their doors. But that group currently excludes the US, Brazil and Russia, which are still experiencing a surge in infections. America has so far recorded almost 6 million cases, with Europe following with almost 3 million.
Well, protesters in the U.S. city of Baltimore pulled down a statue of Christopher Columbus in the anti-racism demonstrations. The statue becomes the latest one to be toppled. Long hailed as the so-called discoverer of the New World, Columbus is considered by many to have spurred years of genocide against indigenous groups in America. Now, despite President Donald Trump signing an executive order last month pledging to enforce prosecution for protesters who vandalized public memorials, this did not stop protesters from toppling the statue. Since the Black Lives Matter protests took center stage in the country following the murder of George Floyd, tens of statues around the country have been torn down. And while fireworks and colorful celebrations often mark the United States' July 4th holiday, the country's Independence Day was instead marked through an unusually somber mood. President Donald Trump's controversial speech also rained on the country's parade after he rallied against protesters demanding racial justice. The virus has also dampened the moods of citizens as the U.S. virus death toll fast approaches 130,000, roughly 1/4 of the world's total. He has also accused China of an alleged cover-up, which he says allowed the illness to spread across the globe. Bridges in the country, which are normally packed on July 4th, were closed as California and Florida suffer alarming surges in COVID-19 infections. However, Democrat Joe Biden, who is also Trump's challenger, struck a sharply different tone on Saturday, stating that the nation should strive for equality and that this Independence Day should see the nation committing to that.
Our history, indoctrinate our children, or trample on our freedoms.
All right, let's now take a look at some sporting action now. And football, once the beautiful game, has now become a well-written script where winners and losers are decided way before kickoff for financial gain. Match fixing has become a silent but deadly disease killing Kenyan football, and with the scourge often discussed in hushed tones and behind closed doors. This Sunday at 9 p.m, NTV investigates and opens the can of worms on just how far the corrupt vice has rooted itself in the country's game on the football corn. Take a look.
Football. Once the beautiful game. Now, a well-written script with the winners and losers decided way before kickoff.
The player who told me pointedly that the game was thrown was called
match fixing, the silent but deadly disease destroying Kenyan football.
I met Wilson, nicknamed Willie, introduced to him as Willie.
This Sunday at 9 p.m.
Sports betting is just cancer.
We are ready to die for our country.
NTV investigates on just how far the corrupt vice has rooted itself in the country's game.
And that will be happening tonight at 9 p.m. by Ida Waringa. Remember, you use the hashtag #TheFootballCorn at NTV Kenya at Ida Waringa. It will be very interesting to watch this evening. Well, Athletics Kenya has called for collaboration with county governments in refurbishing sports facilities. Athletics Kenya Vice President Paul Mutui says the federation will engage Garissa County government on the construction of a modern running track at the Northeastern National Polytechnic in Garissa. Lack of basic training facilities has held back the region. Meanwhile, some 50 athletes benefited from food donation conducted by Athletics Kenya. The partnership between the Ministry of Sports and the association targeted athletes in 20 AK training camps. The athletes were preparing for the now postponed World Athletics Under-20 Championship, which was due in Nairobi this month.
SAK, we are likely going to ask the county government of Garissa to come up and try to have at least one perfect kind of running facility. That's a track. And this one at the Polytechnic, seeing it because we have gone round, we have seen that it requires just a little bit. It requires putting a little bit of money.
Now, Chelsea remained in the top four after beating Watford 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. Olivier Giroud opened the scoring for the Blues in the 28th minute before Willian converted a penalty to make it 2 in the 43rd minute. Ross Barkley rounded off the scoring in injury time. Manchester United had leapfrogged Chelsea, who lost 3-2 at West Ham on Wednesday, into fourth place by thrashing Bournemouth 5-2. Today, champions Liverpool will play Aston Villa at Anfield. Southampton welcome former champions Manchester City as Newcastle United entertain West Ham United and Sheffield United visit Burnley.
Magnificent finish from Ross Barkley, sets the seal on an excellent night for Chelsea. They're back in the top four.
Well, I just mentioned, I thought how well Ross Barkley had played, how neat and tidy he had been in possession, how smartly played and used the ball. But it's this, if he can do more of this, which will keep.
And Mikel Arteta knows Arsenal must take a flawless finish to the season after a 2-0 win against Wolves gave them renewed hope of qualifying for Europe. Earlier, Mason Greenwood had scored twice for the first time as Manchester United came from behind to beat Bournemouth 5-2. Here's what the two managers had to say after the wins on Saturday.
I mean, the race to try to win against Leicester, and let's see what happens. But weeks ago, it looked impossible. And we know the fixtures that we have in the next few weeks. We try to improve as a team every time, give us a better chance. The better we play, the better we compete. At this level of intensity, if we play like this against any team, we'll make it hard for them, and then we will see.
You cannot control what's said outside. We cannot control. We have to focus on ourselves. We never look at the table. What guides us is our performance, the way we do things, how we want to achieve things. And today we didn't perform so well.
Every day and every game, every training session is a chance to improve. We've got to improve the ones we've got here. I think we've seen improvement in Marcus, Mason, Anthony all season. So we'll keep on improving the ones we've got. But we will never stand still. We're always on the lookout if there's anything that's possible. Because you can't think that we've cracked it, like Gary mentioned last week. And the emphasis is just on improving the team all the time.
And Juventus veteran goalkeeper Gianluigi set a record for the number of Serie A appearances when he played his 648th game in the Italian top flight in a 4-1 win against Torino. The 48-year-old made his Serie A debut for Parma as a 17-year-old in November 1995. The record was previously held by former AC Milan defender Paolo Maldini. Juventus went ahead with a deflected Paolo Dybala shot in the 3rd minute and extended their lead in the 29th minute. Andrea Bellotti pulled one back for Torino from a penalty in first half stoppage time. Cristiano Ronaldo scored the 3rd goal through a free kick in the 61st minute.
And Bellotti smashes it past the veteran and gives Torino hope. CR7. Ronaldo, top and over, and it's in. It's goal number 25 for...
And the Spanish La Liga will continue today as defending champions Barcelona take on Villarreal away at Ceramica Stadium. Leaders Real Madrid will play Athletic Bilbao at San Mamés. On Saturday night, Granada played a 2-2 draw against Valencia. Fernandez Luna put Granada ahead in the 61st minute from the spot before Manu levelled for Valencia in the 63rd minute. Guedes scored the 2nd goal for Valencia in the 60th minute as Fede ensured 1 point for Granada in the 86th minute. In other results, Real Valladolid beat Alaves 1-0 while Celta Vigo drew 1-1 with Real Betis.
It's set up here, hit through the wall and into the net. Granada have done it again. A touch of magic.
Well, South African cyclist Ryan Gibbons won stage 1 of the first ever men's virtual Tour de France, while Britain's April Tacey took it for the women. The South African champion made use of a late power-up with the help of teammate Edvald Basson Hagen to take a comprehensive win ahead of Pierre-Andre Cotte and Nick Schultz. Dutch Riede Matthew van Del finished 4th in a race that mirrored the action from the earlier women's race. The event gives riders the chance to follow the world-famous cycling route from the comfort of their homes. All right, and that brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for watching. Remember, tonight we'll be bringing you the feature by Aida Waringa, the football corner. You do not want to miss that report on how game and match fixing is happening here in the country. My name is Zainab. Ismail. Do enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
This is NTV.